So now we come up on social awareness. And as we've said, there are 4 competencies within emotional intelligence: self-awareness and self-management, which really speaks to how you need to take a good look at yourself, understand yourself, really have a sense of why you do what you do, so that you can self-manage better and act with intention. And then when you have settled yourself, so to speak, it's time to move on then to the competency of social awareness. So it's the natural next step. You have pretty much done the self-work needed, all the homework. You're pretty much in command of who you are and what you're doing. And now it's time to really take those skills and use them in society, working with others. So social awareness is the awareness of other people's feelings, needs, and their concerns. It's the ability to recognize and appropriately respond to the emotions and feelings of others. And it is, of course, a fundamental building block of emotional intelligence. But think about this. You know, when we, as leaders, how often have we said to ourselves, you know, she's such a great nurse, he's such a great doc, he's such a great nurse. You know, but I don't understand why they can't respond more appropriately to questions or concerns about patients and families, especially if those patients and families are in crisis, as they often are, and are not as cooperative or being good patients and good families. You know, it's really, social awareness is the ability to step outside yourself, to be so centered and have done the work of what it takes to be an adult human being yourself, that you can now step outside of your own needs to be that much more available for the needs, the feelings, and the concerns of others, and you can focus. Self-awareness relies a tremendous amount on your ability to be empathetic. So it's a natural byproduct of the journey of self-awareness and self-management. You know, again, it comes from having empathy, and not that, you know, I've heard this story a million times, I know where you're coming from, but true empathy for others in the sense that you're making a very human connection, in the sense that because you have done the introspective work yourself, you know the journey. You know the obstacles, you know what it takes to get from here to there. You know the pitfalls, and more importantly, you know the way out of them. And being a professional caregiver, you naturally want to share and care for others. So social awareness is really anchoring that ability to make a connection with another person in a very real and human way. Your needs start to take a back seat to the needs of others, and you no longer feel the need to isolate yourself, to replace a sense of not belonging or a sense of not being aware of any other types of options. You can participate socially in your professional and your personal world on a much different level with a much greater sense of ease and a sense of belonging than you've ever had before. So the 3 competencies that help you achieve social awareness are first empathy, organizational awareness, and then service orientation. And as I said before, social awareness allows you to really put on another person's skin or walk a mile in their shoes and really see things, make that connection, not from a sense of, yeah, I get it, but from a sense of, yeah, I can relate. I can really relate. I can feel what you feel. And in that, you know, comes this sense of connection, and it may be unspoken. And I'm sure that you have met people in your lives, hopefully clinicians in your lives, who have this gift of not just putting someone at ease, but making someone feel heard, making someone feel that you were totally and completely present for them and you tuned into and listened to what mattered to them, and you were able to watch the body language and some of the other forms of nonverbal communication, so that your questions were commensurate with the total message being sent and not just what was being said. The next competency is social awareness, and I will share with you, this is not my strong suit. This has to do with the politics of your organization, and I am no politician. It comes from a greater sense of knowing that there is this entity, this social culture, this organizational culture, which at times makes no sense, but has to be respected. It has to be respected because, quite frankly, it's something greater than just you as an individual. It represents the collective. And there are things that we may be unaware of from a social, political standpoint that are important to the survival of the organization. So social awareness is understanding the politics, being able to do the homework so that you get the politics right, and then backing away in the sense of let the organization be, because there is more here going on than perhaps I am aware of, but I do need to respect if indeed I've decided to become a member of it. The last thing is service orientation, and I can't stress this enough. You know, in previous episodes we've talked about performance appraisals, coaching and counseling, giving feedback in the moment. If you have a staff member who is not able to be service-oriented, they are in the wrong job. Bottom line. And this is like, do you have a stethoscope and a pen? Did you come to work ready with the tools to do the job? Caregiving is a profession of service. Now, how that manifests, whether you are a clinician, a leader, perhaps you are supporting through engineering or housekeeping, lab, caregiving is a profession of service. And if you are not service-oriented, if offering service somehow insults you on some level, you have to rethink what's going on here. And as leaders, and we should be service leaders as well, as leaders, we have to have that crucial conversation with that staff member to say, I'm sorry, but if you can't do this, this is a requisite. This is not negotiable. This is a requisite. You either offer service to those we care for and are trusting us, or we have to have a very, very different conversation. So, what does social awareness actually offer us? Well, if it's done correctly and you've done all the homework, you can capitalize on what Steve Covey calls the power of trust. So, do you remember the competency that we talked about with social awareness and trustworthiness? This is trustworthiness in action. If you really want to get things done, then you have to build an equity account of trust in your role so that people know that the product that you offer, your leadership, your style, is something that they can count on. It's consistent, credible, and they can invest in. They can, even when times are tough or things don't quite make sense, because they trust you, they're willing to take a leap of faith in you. And if you've done all of your emotional intelligence competencies correctly, you will have the joy of being able to say, I have fully vested in trustworthiness, and now I have the power of trust in my organization and from the people that I lead. So there's a level of high trust between parties in business transactions and dealings so that deals can be made within minutes. You've heard of the proverbial, story of, well, we didn't need a contract and let's not get the lawyers involved. Let's just shake hands and get this done. And that's what a culture and the power of trust can offer. In high trust situations, you can even mess up, and people will have a degree of forgiveness and actually maybe even try to work with you to minimize the impact of your messing up, because you have developed equity in that relationship. There is a consistency about you that says, this is not Phyllis at her best. This is Phyllis having a moment, and you know what? We're going to circle the wagons and we're going to do what we need to do because we come together as a team because we have a leader who we know is consistently behind us, and it's now time for us to be behind her. In low trust relationships, you can be incredibly precise, detail-oriented, and people will always find a way to twist your words or turn the situation around to show you in a really unflattering light. And it's a way that, people invite threats and they distort truths, and it's just a way of really instilling fear into the organization, fear into your leadership style, fear into your department, and nothing good ever comes from fear. So, character-based behaviors that grow trust, okay? And I want to talk about the character-based things because there's really no formula for growing trust. It really is people trust you because you're authentic and you're genuine, and you've done the emotional intelligence work to get back to that authenticity and sense of who you genuinely are. You have a very clear understanding of who you are, and people can sense that, and they follow that in a heartbeat. So one of the first behaviors is that you listen, and you listen to the total picture. Remember, with that empathy, so that you're taking in verbal and nonverbal cues about what's going on. You speak clearly. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. All right? You show constant respect up and down the chain of command. The little people matter just as much as the bigwigs at the top. And you have principles of fairness. You may be, as they say, you're not easy, you're tough, but you're fair. People can work with that. But it's also important that you're kind and that you're civil and that you show the respect first before you expect the respect back. And then you want to foster transparency. So if you make a mistake, own it. There's nothing worse than getting caught in a cover-up. So that there's an openness to the fact that if Phyllis really thought something was wrong, she'd say something. We wouldn't be trying to cover up something. So people can kind of exhale that they're maybe going into new territory. They might be pushing the edge of an envelope on something. But we're trusting that at the end of the day, if things don't go right, she's not going to abandon us, and she's not going to look to scapegoat. She's certainly going to be accountable, responsible, and transparent. And then you want to deliver the results you promise. I mean, we've all have adult lives where we have been sold the sizzle, never got the steak. And, I think that's such a disingenuous thing to do to a professional adult. If you're going to promise something, then you have to make sure that you can deliver on something, or don't make the promise, because people will hold you to that. All right? So you want to anchor everything you do with credibility and accountability and make sure you're there and fully present for what you need to deliver. And then again, if you mess up, you're going to acknowledge your errors and you're going to be sincere about them. You're not just going to say, wow, I screwed up. Sorry, guys. My bad. All right? You're going to say, you deserved better from me. And I dropped the ball here, and I promise you it won't happen again. But let's rethink and reprioritize, and let's get started again. And this time we will do it better, and you will have better from me. Genuine adult apology followed by the actions to establish trust that apology was indeed sincere and credible. So what can be gained from all of this? Well, you're going to have a different sense of energy around you, and you are going to start to attract people into your world, on your team, in your department, that mirror who you have become. You will begin to attract and inspire others to want to join your team, to want to work with you, to want to partner with you. So that when people are, looking for the next task group to take us from here to there, your name is thought of immediately, because working with you just has so many added values. Increased productivity is one of Stephen Covey's biggest premises to the speed of trust, is that things get done quickly and efficiently. The projects that you run go smoother. And there's a greater sense of staff engagement and a sense of team. And hopefully that will be reflected in all of the surveys that come from you, all this good work that you're doing, and that the staff will reflect it in the surveys that they take either yearly or every other year.